and welcome to Car Mechanical, and today I'm going to show you how to fit and install power and RCA cables in your Audi A3 8L. So we're going to look at the back of it, go in and take off the trim piece in a minute, and that is going to show us the subwoofer and the rear amp. And the main reason I'm swapping this out is they're an absolute nightmare to power with any other aftermarket head unit. So what we're going to do is take off this little trim piece here. Now this trim piece has got a couple of Phillips or crosshead screws in it, and once we take this off, we're just going to pull that out. We're going to take off the door trim card as well, because we need to take off the trim piece on the passenger side seat. So we're going to lift this part out. Then we're going to get a trim tool under the, I suppose it's a door card, depending on what model you've got, but this is the interior trim card. Get the piece of trim in there, going to pull that out. In a moment we're going to get inside and disconnect the speaker as well, and then you're going to take the door card out and pop that to one side. So we had to get all of that out of the way to be able to even start taking off everything else. So you've got some Torx bits here. This is at the back of the boot. I think there's 2 or 4, maybe just 2, and that's going to lift out. Now those pieces of trim are holding this big part in here, so again we're going to use trim bits again, and we're going to take off everything that's holding this trim in. So there's a couple of screws and Torx bits all over. So we've taken these bits that cover sort of the seat bolster. We're going to take off this screw here, and in a minute I'm going to jump across to some of the more awkward screws. So if we look under the trim, so if you imagine that's where the amp is there, or you can see the amp, just straight up from it there's another screw. And then there's also another one, I believe, that's by the interior light. So once they're off, you can pull the trim piece up and take it out, but you can't pull it all the way out because you have to disconnect that interior light that comes on when the boot gets popped open. So I'm just going to show you where the connector for that is. So let's flick under it and get underneath it with the camera. It's a bit of an awkward angle, but it can roughly show you where you want to be getting to. Okay, as I'm just showing you here, and just get in there and disconnect that. I wanted to take a bit more effort to show you where this one piece was, because I did find it a massive pain when I was doing it. So that's the whole of the rear interior out on that side to get to the amp, and we can see the amp there. Now the amp's held in with 2 or 3 screws. Unfortunately I didn't film taking it out, but it's a couple of screws or bolts. Undo them, disconnect the cable, and you're done. So now I'm going to take you through to the engine bay, and I've put a hole in the firewall and I've used a grommet, and this is some, I think it's 0 gauge wire. Yes, it is black. It was pretty much free, so that's why I've used it. I'm going to show you where I've gone to in the firewall. So I used a initial drill bit and a step drill up to maybe 10mm, and you can just about see the light. If we go in with a torch, you can see the grommet, and you can see where I've led in through the cable, and you can see why we took that trim out earlier. There's an additional piece that I've taken out just there too, but this is where I'm going to run the cable. So I'm going to run a cable all the way down the side. We're going to pass it down where that rear door card would go, and we're going to pass it into the boot. Now if we go back to the front of the car, I'm just going to show you where I've put a fuse, and then run it in some proper red cable to connect it to the battery. Now for the RCA cables, what I've done, I've run those down the side of the car on the interior. I've run them through the centre console. They go down through the back. If I hop into the back in a second, I'm just going to show you behind the centre console. You can see where the cables are running down. They then pull out underneath. They go under the carpet, and they go behind the seat, or they go under the seat, and they go behind it, and then they come out into the boot. And I've run the interior cable and the power cable separately to avoid interference from the two. It is just duct taped down. My carpet needs hoovering and everything, but this is just for function at the moment. And if we take a quick look at the amp, you can see everything that's just quite hooked up there. And I've run the earth to one of the earth points there. I think it's just run it with the shortest possible earth cable as well, if you want the least resistance on that. And I'm not using the same gauge because eventually this is going to be a full boot build. There's going to be 2 amps, and the subwoofer is going to go where the original Audi subwoofer was, but for now it goes into a splitter block. So that runs down to a smaller gauge wire, and that will be split between this 250 watt amp and the 700 watt amp that goes to a 12-inch Kenwood subwoofer. Again, I've just made a point of highlighting the remote cable, and I've hooked that up to the stock interior. So if you look at that red and green cable, I've actually left that hooked up at the head unit, so I didn't need to run a new extra remote wire. So all I've just done is I've just used a terminal block to hook up that remote wire, and as I've mentioned, that will also be used to split the connection and use that remote connection on the other subwoofer when that gets installed as well. Now hopefully that helps you with you doing this yourself in your Audi A3 or even a Mark IV Golf. It should be pretty much bang on the same. Now if you're going to do this a bit neater than me, absolutely go for it. If you pay attention to the channel, probably more towards Christmas this year, I'll get the boot build done and that'll be a lot neater and tidier. If you have found this video handy, guys, please let me know. Hit the like button, share the video out, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos in the future, and please leave any comments or feedback in the section below, and thank you for watching.